Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. My name is Allie with A. Marie Speaks. And I'm going to attempt to discuss something that's a bit hard for me to explain, and also something that I really am seeking to put out and get out. And it seems to be, not coming together exactly correctly, but I'm going to go with it and try my best to explain. And then I'm hoping to do videos that are a bit more tangible and identifiable with certain circumstances. But for now, this might just be a bit of a walkthrough and a talk through. And some people might not even need those direct videos anyways. You might be able to just listen to me in my planning idea here and take it and run with it, and that would be is even greater towards my intentions and my offerings of service here, freely offered ideas, that it is just kind of taken and run with in any direction that anyone who ever bumps into this might find it personally applicable to them. So yes, I will try, and I am going to try to make a bit more specific type of videos. X, Y, and Z happens. How do we react? Facing this, what do we do? This comes up, or in fact, when nothing even happens, there's a lot of different phases and stages that require what I'm calling energy alchemy and or live action meditation. I'm struggling between the two. I was using energy alchemy, and I'll probably always continue to use these words, because to me they describe plainly what we're doing. Alchemizing is changing one thing into another, right? A metamorphosis, a rebalancing, and tweaking, altering, revamping things into a better, more correct, more productive alignment. And so, of course, my light is going to shine right on my teeth and just be so distracting to me. Sorry. Intrusive complaints here. But there is huge benefits that I have been going and working through over the last couple of years with bringing what I was doing and what I've learned to do through meditation into everyday moments, all moments, in circumstances, in awake times, in interactions with others. And for me, it's been such a gratifying and well worth it exercise. And so I really want to share with others, and I really am hoping to inspire others to take up the good work for themselves, But so with that in mind, but with that in mind, I am going to attempt to speak about things that are hard to describe, and personal also, but not. And also, they're going to be for a section of people who are ready to hear it, and there's others who are not ready for it, and others who have already passed it, probably. Wherever you lie on the spectrum, anyways, I'd love to hear from anyone about how you feel about these kind of things. If you find them impossible or possible, if you've tried them out, what the potentials have been like for you, if you've met hurdles, or it's been a clear course, I would love really to hear any sort of feedback out there. So there's a 2-part practice to all of this sort of energy alchemy live action meditation that I think is a strong structuring and a good great placement to put ourselves between, right? To have this and that, to remember, to sort of bring together and culminate within. And that means, firstly, there's the live incident, there's the happenings, in the moment responses, interactions, what you choose to say, how your body responds, how your mind responds, how your spirit feels in the moment. There's the in the moment practice and effects in the alchemy of the moment, and the live action part of it, the live action part of meditation. Then the second part, it comes afterwards, which involves this sort of meditation. It involves a segregated period of integration after the fact. And that can look like contemplation and introspection if you're not comfortable or in a habit of meditating. In meditation, some people are completely adverse to that word or the practice or whatever. They think they have all of these build-up biases as to what it means or what it is to get into it or who does it and who can't or whatever. And so I really want to kind of release the stigmas of that whole meditation world and really bring it down to brass tacks in an obvious sense of self-care, nourishment, and regulation of our systems. Everyone does it. Everyone needs to in order to keep going, and whether you have deemed it another kind of word or not, it's the action of going inwards with the self and reviewing, assessing, organizing, and releasing that which happened in that moment. Okay, so, and these things tied together in this promissory contractual way, in laws and systems of you and of me, and however you set up your yourself, your system to work. Because either we're we're seeking positive alignment, we're seeking negative alignments. And so life happens to everyone, and everyone, depends on where and when you are and what's happened to you up until that moment as to where that balance of seeking is at, where your intention is lying at, if it's pulled negative or if it's pulled positive. And both angles and directionalities need this type of work. And, even those of us who seek to clear our books on a positive side at the end of the day or the year or the fiscal period or whatever you want to look at, every moment to moment, I like to look at it as, but even those of us who are seeking that alignment, we bump into negativities. We find ourselves caught in a negative directionality for different reasons at different times. But it's the 51% kind of thing that we want to look at. We want to aim for this a ratio of majority of positivity versus a majority of negativity. I've been in times, I've been places and spaces in my life where I was totally negatively aligned, and even in these sort of victim slave master cycles that I've talked about for years, and not even realizing that you're a part of that, but just being trapped in it and just going with it. The negative alignment's kind of subtle. You don't really realize that you're in it. Versus the positive alignment is obvious and outright, the opposite of subtle, but it's not intense or extreme, but it's clearly obvious. It's plain to see, and also it takes conscious action to be involved in it. You have to make that discerning choice with sovereign power to do the positive alignment versus negative alignment, which is a subversion of the power. It's a resignation of sovereign power and just to fall into it and just to be led. And there's a completely different awareness is happening. Unless, of course, you're choosing negative alignment, well, then it's actually a very extreme choice, and it's more, it is extreme, and like I said, that positive is not. the choosing a negative alignment is very extreme. It's very obvious. It needs to be done all of the time, and it has to be reconfirmed, and it has to be always tied into with a lot of strength. You know, it has to feel that pulling in of the fishing line or whatever. You know, there's a lot of muscle to actually pull a negative directionality. Not to say that it's impossible. It is, and it's being done in lots of different spaces and places. But I'm not really going to talk about that because it's, to me, you can go fall in line with anything out there and be caught up in it if that's your choice. But for those of us who that's not our choice, you know, we're going to fall into this categories of either slipping in autopilot and finding ourselves looped into negativities, or trying to be consciously awake all the time in this capacity of awareness that we're seeking positive balance at all times. So, having this awareness in choice of intention of interaction is kind of like the foundation of what everything rests on. And then when we have proper foundation and we encounter different things, catalysts, disruptions, hurdles, this is where this sort of two-part work comes in. And so if you may need to work on your foundation before you get to this kind of work. And if you're, you know, I'm not going to get into it, forget it, because I'll talk for hours about building foundation. I've made a lot of videos about this already, so if you are kind of new or you haven't heard me talk about it, or you joined my channel like in the last year or something, you know, you can check back on my old channel, or if you aren't finding me on BitChute, everything's in one place over there. But you could search, you know, Anne Marie Speaks Sovereignty, Anne Marie Speaks Negative Systems, Positive Systems, all of those kind of things, and I have a bunch of videos on them. I did a whole, like, almost 60 videos of this sort of progression through 6 levels of what systems are. So if you're interested in that, understanding what the toroidal is, understanding what's happening with energetic movement, and trying to discern and become aware of your toroidal movement, I would really highly suggest watching that series, because it's sort of fundamental. And I do it from a very, you know, beginner's level and start and build up sequentially. It's well worth it, I think. But anyway, so if we have a knowledge base of this kind of thing, and we're moving through life, you know, we come up into these situations and scenarios where, you know, maybe our truth is questioned. Maybe our some kind of trigger is pulled or pushed or whatever. First and foremost, we have the in the moment action. And then secondly, we have this kind of secondary follow-up with introspection meditation. Now, what I mentioned before, and I kind of got off on a sidetrack, is whatever directionality you're seeking and whatever kind of system laws that you're abiding by, negative or positive, that will set the sort of boundaries of this contract, this promise between the work, the 2 types of work, that, you know, will have ripple effects. I'm going to just kind of tag into positive alignment now and just speak about that, because if I try to bounce between the two, this video is going to be hours long. I could talk for hours, but I'm not going to, and I'm sure not one person wants to listen to me for that long. So, when we have good standing with the self, when our intentions are to be of service to the whole, when we are in this place of seeking positive productivity, where we want to align our service and our energy with unconditional love, with acceptance and forgiveness, and seeking harmonious solutions for the whole, so that the whole can actually progress in a beneficial manner, you know, this sets a tone. It sets coloration or flavoring, scent, whatever you like to, or all of them. You can choose any of them, but it creates this sort of state within the self that you are sort of the CEO, the main face of your whole system. Inside your system is broken down into many facets and layers and levels. Talked about this within. I like to use my image of this energetic tower, but you can break it down any way you'd like to. If you're interested, I have a ton of videos on the tower, along with systems into readals and what kind of the chakra wheel, the centers, the spinning, and the action is actually to readal, and it's actually. They each have a sort of qualia, a context of operation that is their coloration, and they're the sort of highlighted ratio where awareness is more heavily focused in certain different expressions. But the whole is the whole, and it comes together in a mosaic totality. And so we set within ourselves, within every layer and floor of the tower, within all the bosses and managers, the cellular consciousness, I like to call it even, this sort of state of being. And with positive alignment and intentions, we have a promissory contract that says and states with trust and faith that we honor each other and that we're here for our highest, best good, and that we know we're sort of interlinked and locked together, and that what serves one serves all, and what serves all serves one. Now, again, I'm not going to get caught up into negativities, because there's potentials of a whole expression of infinity out there on a negative side this creates illusions and manipulations within what this contract is. But with positive alignment, we're hoping for open, accepting transparency, as everyone's on the same page, and we are literally actually hoping for whole, beneficial, good quality, and transparent transactions that honor all involved. And when we're talking about the self, our cellular consciousness, our organs, our body systems, it comes kind of plain as day as to why we should all be on the same team, and we really can actually all work together for one good overall holistic health and well-being, right? And again, this is why I think taking it inwards and working foundation first teaches us so much better about how we later interact with external world or direct people in our worlds, because we get the muscles stronger with this internal work of imagining other self as other selves, as your cells within you as another self, and excuse me, how to it's that time of year, it's like seasonal allergies and dryness. Anyways, the contract stands that we've all signed it, and we're all looking to do good work for each other. And we hold each other accountable in a helpful manner, with unconditional love as the basis of the relationship. Okay? Much like you look at a best friend or your favorite kind of person, or a child or something, with this kind of care and compassion. Now, the two-part workings, when we have a good alignment and when the laws are abided by for positivity, then we know that we're going to come back and do this work later. So when the initial incident happens in the moment, and it requires responses, and it also brings up reactions within the self, we have the moment of the bubble of the responses and the interactions. And we also then have the sort of resolution of how that situation happens. It might be not just the ending of it, but we'll say for the moment that it's over. It could be there's things that might need to come back to it later, whatever. But the in the moment thing happens and it's done with. So we have stage one. And stage 1 is very important, especially when we first get started, because it's the place where autopilot shows itself. The shadow speaks quickly. The ego is inflamed. Any way you want to look at these kind of things. Those response mechanisms that are habitual or perhaps ingrained in us in some kind of way, they start to just happen. But we catch ourselves. We become aware and observe the way that that's happening. It might not be that you can stop it at that moment. It might be after the fact that you notice or remember or catch yourself. And that's okay. But there's an awareness of it. There's no biases of this sort of cognitive manner where you excuse away what you did and forget about it and clean slate and say, oh yeah, nope, I'm just great. I'm doing great work. There's accountability and I like to call it 360-degree spectrum light, but this sort of like clarity of a way of looking at a thing that shows the good and the bad on even footing for yourself. And you have, an acceptance of where they stand in that way. Not a way to try to shift them and change them and make one look better than the other or worse or whatever, but just they are, okay, that's that. I responded that way. I could have handled it better. Yeah. But I didn't. Or conversely, I handled it great. Wow, I really got through that without blowing up, without a knee-jerk reaction, without freaking out, without crying, without screaming. So sometimes as we get working these in the moment, this first stage practice, it becomes a lot more obvious, and it's almost like time really kind of becomes more expansive and slows down for self, to where you can see and step outside of yourself in the moment, and you can feel the sort of forward-facing self that really wants to do this reaction, or really is calling for this, or says this is the best response, or the needed action. Or even worse, it can sort of be vengeful and feel very judgmental and feel like, oh, well, I'm called to give them back this sort of pain or this sort of fear or this sort of show anger back to them as a punishment or as a retribution to this other who's caused this feeling to me. And that is, these are the most curious and the ones we need to really pay attention to and have real conversations with the self about, as to why we feel that we need to now impose upon another karmatic judgment that is supposed to be guided through spirit, through universe, through God, source, whatever ultimate connectivity that you call and want to connect to. But that's the area and realm that takes care of those things. It isn't this self. It is not first person view of an incarnated, fractionated source. It's not in a placement of perspective that can do that. You cannot see that person's walk up to the moment. You cannot see inside their head, their heart. You don't know their intentions. You don't know what has caused them to bring that situation to you. And in fact, when we realize these things that we don't know all the walk up to it, we relinquish the power of thinking we have authority in places that we don't, and understanding where we truly own authority at, and then what is the bigger authority out there, and we actually follow the lead of source, of God, of greater authority, of that which is greater than the self. We step out of their space, which is not our space, and we say, oh yes, you handle it, you know better, you brought this to me actually as a test, as a challenge, as a point of awareness. I asked for it in some kind of way, actually. And so let me respond, let me witness this, let me look over this incident in this kind of standing, and from a point of accountability, then try to respond to it. So there's levels of this kind of interactions that happen in the real moment of whatever it is, catalyst disruption. And that quality of work is touch and go, and it's also, you might get really far in one sort of area, and some other area is still highly volatile and triggering. Or it might be a certain person or this person, or you can deal really well with that one, but this is still a problem, and that's great. It's wonderful. It's always changing and it's always shifting, just as we inside internally are always changing and shifting and evolving and growing. So, and then here comes the part two, and we have a good contract. We have this promissory note that says that, okay, I'm dealing with this, I'm looking at this, I've accepted, I've noticed transparency, I'm trying not to be judgmental, I'm trying not to get wrapped up in this in the moment. Let me move through it in the best way that I can, with the tools that I have in my belt ready to use. And later, I know I'm going to come back to these loose ends, to whatever was triggered. Whoever in the tower in the levels was like really screaming with a bullhorn at that point, or crying, or went to a corner, or maybe they have a whole to-do list of all of these things. This and this, this and this, and this was wrong, and that person's wrong, and this. Going back to those things at another separate time, after you've had time to settle, after you've already been through the whole thing, with yourself alone, in this sort of introspective meditation period, contemplation, sitting quietly, whether it's, you want to dedicate a time during the day to sit, or you don't like that, you want to do it before bed or in the morning when you wake up, whatever fits for you is great and will work, but it needs to happen. And it has to be not a going back and a reliving through the moment at all. And but instead, it's taking those points that were highlighted during the incident and diving into those centers, diving into that cellular consciousness, the boss, whatever is inside of you, this character archetype, a little fragment of self, and going there as the CEO, going there as higher self, as a point of help, as a point of authority, and correctivity in mind, and really assessing and going through that, going over that checklist, or going down to that person, that character or fraction of you within yourself, and saying, hey, I saw that response, I felt that, let's get into that. Why'd you do that? And they might be like, oh, this person, that person, they said this, they don't believe me, they called me this, they said I wasn't doing this, and I'm not that, I know this, and this is when we go and sit with them and say, I know, we all know, we know inside, and comforting them, and also giving them a point of grounding that electric energy, that firing away that says that, oh yeah, I'm seen, oh yeah, I am heard, I'm better than that, I'm more than that, that is not me, and honing into the truth of what it is. Now, you have to be aligned with real truth. You have to have an activated heart center and be willing to extend out that open trust heart to all, and this can be difficult in itself, and this is can be just like I mentioned about how in the moment reactions can be sporadic, and then it can get a little bit more reliable, and then can become like, instead it's just sporadically that you have these kind of mess ups and mix ups, and most of the time is smooth sailing. The inner work is much like that as well, and it's very layered, and it takes time, and time is measured and experienced very differently inside than it is on a ticking clock or a calendar, and so we really have to be honest and mindful about what time feels like inside to us, and what we need for time in there, and how time has passed, in order to give yourself that time, the space to do the work, and to feel the quality of difference when you change up operations. And then when you feel the quality of difference through different operations, only later then can you feel the rippled retribution of service. And we want to immediately feel the retribution. We want to immediately have some kind of confirmation that tells us that the switch was made, the change is there. But it doesn't work like that. And in fact, when we seek that, we're attempting to skip over organic flow, and it just creates more dissonance and rippled effects that confuse and bounce around with those that are already out there. And it's very counterintuitive to actual good work. Now, the final thing that I'll sort of say here, because I wanted to try to keep this video not too long, and I've already talked for half an hour, is if and when we have a good hold on a truth, hold on the whole, hold on I like to see it like a cord connecting me to God, to Source, and have a steady hold on that cord. Nothing can shake you. Nothing can change your mind about the reality of how real that cord is, or how grounded your feet are, or how firm the foundation is. And this is what we remind the self when we get down in there. You know, we don't always go down in there and have solutions. You don't always just go down as the CEO with like a whole blueprint of all these corrections, go down there and rebuild and correct, and bam, it's good. Because it doesn't work like that. That again is sort of a negative idea of this sort of forceful corrections that do not take place organically. They are not all inclusive, and they are not encouraging in organic shifts and changes. And so instead of going down there with this is the solutions, and I'm going to go force it on people because I know the right way, the things that they did wrong, but instead to go down as a reminder of, let's go to the heart together. Let's sit in the heart center at our point of truth, at that cord with God, and hold on to that cord together, and remember that we are one. Remember that we're all here together to do this thing, that I love you and you love me, and that's what matters. And that's where solutions come through. That's where real healing comes at. That's where real conversations actually happen. That fractalized, annoyed piece will actually know that you're there to help. And it can actually release those mechanisms of barricading, or what they think that they're doing to hold control or remain balanced or whatever. They'll actually relinquish that tight grasp, and then is the point that you could actually help. The more that we do this kind of work with inner self, the more you can see other people clinging on to their like false beliefs, and you can't go over to another person and like smash their beliefs, or like tear their fingers off the rope and then be like, hey, you're cured now. You're great. I did that for you. Don't do it again. They're just going to do it again because something within them is calling that response. If instead we actually figure out why they're doing that, then the solution becomes quite obvious, because solution and problem are always tied together like DNA. They are interlinking things. It's beautiful, but it also is quite frustrating, because people who have a problem, especially a long-standing problem or a large problem, they've only been long-standing or gotten so large because you've ignored them and allowed them to accumulate, because you know there's a solution and you don't like it, you don't want it, for some reason. But having having that net, that security system there, that friend, that loving embrace, or just that energy of another there with you, helps to remind that self of the truth and of the fact that, oh yeah, I am doing this, and I do have this sort of problem here because of this and this, So yeah, practicing these kind of things with the self is beneficial across multiple pages. But first, learning to do it with the self is so important, because you can't help another until you learn to help yourself. Just like you can't heal anyone unless you're healed. You can't give what you don't have. And it's so funny because we think giving is like it's gone. You don't have it. You can't give what you don't have, but you can't have what you give away. And it's not true. That's a negative alignment and a law that's built into negative loops of, liar loops. It's not real. Because in fact, the moment that you give something, even if it is a tangible physical item that you give to another, you are getting back the gift of them appreciating the thing that you gave them. And the experience of them interacting with that thing, having that thing then for themselves and being able to appreciate it, enjoy it, whatever the case is with it, that gives you, the giver, a whole other experience, a whole other happiness, a whole other retribution to your service. And that's your system is looking for retribution for the service. It's not looking for the gift back. And in fact, we're thinking, because we've given it away and we don't get it back, then we're losing, we've lost something. But that's not true whatsoever, because your retribution, what fills the void of the giving of, even if it's a thing, even if it's your favorite shirt that you gave to your best friend because they really love it, you get that good feeling of, I've really made them happy. They look great in it. I didn't need it. I have all these other shirts, though that's what fills up that sort of void or gap of where that shirt used to be in the closet, and maybe even if it is still an empty hanger in the closet and you go and look at it, you won't feel, loss, I missed that shirt. It's like, yeah, she's wearing it. She looks great in that shirt. That shirt didn't even fit me that good, or I had all these things about it. Wasn't using it. I hardly ever wore it. Whatever the case is that you're reminded of, it's like it meets in this integrated way that they fulfill each other. And you're getting something great out of that. But it isn't a physical item, and so negative is easy to infringe upon and invert that and trick us into thinking that, you've lost it, or, and giving everything, giving love, giving any type of service it works just the same. We get retribution of what our system needs out of the offering. And when we do this work internally, and the give and take happens internally, and it's a shift from this place to that place, and this place to that place, or that to that within the self, of course you're not losing anything. It's all staying within you. And so it becomes easier for us to practice and understand about what it means to move things around. And then we come to expanding that out to external people in the world, it becomes more comfortable. It becomes more obvious. We're part of a whole. Yeah, we're whole humanity. We're a whole world. We're the body of God here. And so nothing is lost. Everything is just shifted and moved around. And in fact, it's beneficial to the whole to have this sort of movements. And let me actually tie into what my true retribution of that movement really was, and own my purpose and partnership in the whole here. So yeah, this is my introduction to sort of how we work in the moments, what I mean by energy alchemy, live action meditation. I hope you've enjoyed me talk around the world about it for now. I will come back maybe with some more specific examples, and if I like the way they come out. I've been trying to record some of them, I hate them, so I've just kind of been deleting them. But we'll see. I'm hoping to. A bit like I offer with the breathwork series, maybe I'll get back into some of those videos as well, but to just sit down and do it, to have a short conversation about what it is we're doing, what the practice is, and then do a clinical of it together in the same video, and go through the motions just a little bit, and then close it out, and just have the video come on, no walk up, no, this is what I'm doing like I'm doing right now, but instead just addressing the sort of variables, plug it into the formula, do the formula together, and that's that for the video. So thank you for bearing with me through this sort of fumbling around and sketching out what's going to happen. And I hope you'll join me in the future with those practices, or maybe other videos where I just come and talk. Love to have anybody and everyone here who's interested. Thank you for listening. Like I think I mentioned at the start, but I might not have. I'd love to hear feedback about anyone. Experiences, whether you're new to this or you've been doing it for a long time. If you're building foundation still and you've got questions or issues, I'd love to hear them. I offer any sort of tools, complementary ideas if I can. If you're ahead of this and you have things like this is going in that direction, I'd love to hear about that as well. So leave in the comments, send me email, find me on Telegram, wherever you are. Might be there. So yeah, great to hopefully to hear from anybody. Thanks for watching me. Thank you for your contribution to our collective. We certainly wouldn't be the same without you. Thanks for witnessing mine, and I'll see you next time.